Hello, everybody, and welcome to another great episode of My Edtech Life. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this wonderful day. And wherever it is that you may be joining us from around the world, thank you so much for your support. We appreciate all the likes, the shares, the follows. Thank you so much for resharing our tweets and everything on social media. And thank you to our new YouTube subscribers. We really appreciate it. As you know, our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers on this channel, hopefully by the end of this year. And also, a just big shout out to Eduate, who is our show sponsor. Thank you, as always, for your support and in believing in our mission of connecting educators and creators one show at a time. And boy, am I excited about today's show. Today, I am ready to welcome a great creator, just a great educator, a great person overall. And really, to be honest with you, and I might cause him to blush, but really a very big influencer in my creative journey as well, along with some other folks that we'll talk about. So I'm really excited to welcome Mr. Claudio Zavala to the show. Claudio, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hey man, I'm doing fantastic. Doing great. I know we've been trying to connect for some time and schedules worked out. We initially were going to record at a different time and had to shift over. So thank you for being flexible, but excited to be here, Fawns.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much. Like I mentioned, it's been great to see your journey and follow you from, I think it was 2017 when I first started following you and got to know a little bit more of the Adobe products, and then just seeing what you've been able to do and how you've been able to just really help amplify creativity, not just for teachers to, immediately share with students, but I think the work that you do also attributes to a lot of just that creative spark for us as individuals as well to continue our creativity. So before we jump in, because we're going to be talking all things creativity, for any person that may be out there that may not just be familiar with your work yet, which I know everybody knows who Claudio Zavala is, but just in case, can you give us a little brief introduction and then what your context is within the education space?
Yeah, I'll do like I'll try to do a condensed version of it. 25 years in education, so the public education. So I did multiple roles, and I would say half of those years were in the classroom, third, fourth, and fifth grade, different variations of those grades, and then I also was so different roles: educational technology coach, instructional technology coach, instructional coordinator. So they do the same thing, pretty much. I was a digital designer, coordinator, and in other duties as assigned. And both, I would say, the latter half of my year when I did more of like instructional coaching, like tech coaching, um, was I would say majority of that was done while I was here in Texas because I grew up in California. So I would say like as far as my professional career in education, half of it California and half of it here. I did my teaching out there, but I also did like tech liaison. So I kind of got my feet wet into like, you know, I would say, falling deep into like, oh man, how can I incorporate tech into the classroom? And as this was like when there was like one drop in the classroom, and I like would buy switches to go from one drop to multiple computers. That was speed was like megabytes. They weren't even in gigabytes. And so, but yeah, in education and latter towards the later years of that, I've been using like Adobe tools for a long time, like Photoshop, and uh, that's mainly where I cut my teeth in Adobe tools was because I've always been into photography, and then started diving into like editing photos and just fell in love with it. Um, and then started using some more like Premiere and then like Adobe Spark at the time. And then I started doing a lot of like showing people how to do those things. And you mentioned like when you kind of started to follow kind of my work, and that's kind of 2016, 2017. That's kind of like, I would say those were like the formative years when I started doing a lot of that and sharing it out, and, prompting from friends like, "Hey, you should share more of your content." And, so like, I'm okay, I'll do it. And I'm always even my family, it's like, I'm always a teacher, and I'm always an educator. I'm always like, like, can I show you how? Like, can I help? Or, I'm always like wanting to teach. I always want to share. And so I still get to do it. And so, now, fast forward, and I was doing a lot of that uh, training, kind of demoing, and a lot of the would say the tech conferences like TCA, local ones. That's kind of where I started out. And like, your first do your first one is like, what am I getting into? This is I had no idea what I was doing. And so yeah, and then from fast forward from there and yeah, now I'm doing work with Adobe and the education team, and I still get to do a lot of that what I've been doing before, and now it's neat because I get to focus just like on some specific tools and not have to dive into other ones. While I still kind of like learn some of the other ones just so I know how like integrations and things like that. But now I just kind of like focus and working with students and teachers and really inspiring the next generation of lifelong creators and even myself, I was telling someone the other day, it's like I never consider myself that I've learned it all. That I still, in everything that I do, photography, video, I'm a musician as well. It's like there's these amazing photographers, amazing musicians that I follow, and even they themselves, like, I'm not a master. They call them masters because to me they are, but they're even then they themselves, like, I've followed many of them for 30 plus years and I've seen their growth. And like, I listened to their albums from years ago. I look at their photos from years ago. And did you see the growth? And you're like, I knew you way back then. And even now it's like, to me, they're like super experts, but even they themselves, like, I'm still learning. I'm still like tweaking what I thought was good for me then. Now it's like, no, part of it's getting older. You're like, I have to shift in certain angles because I can't sit a certain way anymore. I can't, my reach is different, so you start to alter what you learned before, you twist it. I'm gonna say twist it, you tweak it, because now you're like in different conditions. So yeah, I tried to do it all condensed. Maybe that was a little too
Yeah.
long, but
No, no, but that's perfect though, because it really, honestly, Claudia, gives us some great insight into your story and a little backstory, which we'll hit on. And fortunately, like I said, I've had a chance to collaborate with you and get to see the work that you do, and getting to know your backstory a little bit more. And so I'll probably bring up some things there, but not like anything embarrassing or anything like that. But really, what I want to get into, Claudio, is if you can, I know that you are an amazing creator, not only for Adobe, but the things that you put out just for yourself personally. Like you said, musician as well. And you put out some great, great things, on your channel just for the general public, not just educators, but the general public, just to learn and help them ideate and maybe just give that spark. So I want to know, like, when you were, growing up, with your folks in LA, or California, you know, when did you start really just kind of feeling like, "Hey, you know what? I'm a creative person." Is this something that you would say was just naturally, gifted to you, or is it something that you kind of just worked on some things? Were you one of those that just, or just said, "You know what? I'm going to learn this, and I'm all in, and I'm just going to go with it." How were you growing up?
that's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. I honestly believe that we all have, we're all, I would say born creative. I say we all have that ability. And when you're younger, I mean, if you think about our imagination when you're little, I mean, when my kids were young, I mean, they thought they were Superman. They thought it was Batman. They thought, they thought, I'm a, I'm gonna conquer this dinosaur. My daughter loves Jurassic Park and see like the imagination. And so I think we all have that innate creative ability in us. And it's at some point, it's kind of like, ooh, it's quenched, and not to get off like on a tangent, but because you got to do these testing and all this blah blah blah. Anyways, but I say, it's a little bit of both. I think um I was fortunate because both of my parents and I would say even all my siblings, and all of us were musicians. I think for the most part, I think three out of there's four of us, and that's three out of four of us still are like, I would say maybe two out of four of us are like very still like deep into it. I would say one of us like left the instrument, but I think if she picks it back up, she could probably like rusty. But to go back, like all of us picked up an instrument at some point in our life, and I think like music being and playing an instrument is huge for like that creative mind. But I think my parents, my mom is artistic, and my dad being a musician, singer. He had some. I have his 45 little record A and B side, his first album. I would say it was an album, his first 45 they put out. And so he had a band. So that for me was like inspiration watching and, um, but I would say growing up in the 80s, I was having a conversation today with someone. It's like we didn't have cell phones, so we didn't have these things to look at to be inspired by others, what other people are creating, or even to think what they're doing. For us, it was really a lot of exploration and being there, like going back to my dad and having that band, and he had that room, those instruments, and sneak in there and just bang on these drums and da 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 on the keyboard, and getting in trouble for maybe knocking down a microphone here and there, and but also that both my parents had like basically nurtured that in us and let us kind of explore and if we did something and we didn't like it, we got to sports and like I said, the drums, I played that and we would go and do some art stuff. My brother was, I would say, as far as art, he was like the artist of the family. Like he actually went to school and got a degree in art and stuff like that. And I kind of like I pretended to I kind of like, well, I'm not gonna go get an art degree, but I'm gonna do like my own thing. And so I would say like as a kid, like the when my mom would get these the 110 camera. It was like they had like the two little kind of circles in flight, like, I think it was like 25 photos, 30 photos, whatever it was. You had no idea how the picture would come out, but my mom would take pictures like, hey, can I take the picture? Can I play with it? And I would say like just that. And I did art as well. So it's just like all these different things, just trying out things. Um, being growing up, we didn't have a lot of money. I think, a lot of my families in like growing up in my time, being like first generation in America, my parents immigrated from Mexico. And so it's like, there's times we didn't have any food and on the table. So you just kind of like, you figured out certain ways to do things. And like, we wanted certain things. So like, I don't have money to buy, like a little race car. So we built them, we like got a piece of wood and drilled, used a hole saw and drilled and made holes. And we went to the Boys Club too. We did that. But I say like all that just, I just dove into a lot of things. It really like using my hands. My dad also was a construction worker, so I would go help him. Like when I was in middle and high school, it's like he'd do jobs just during the summer, and I'd go, and I was like, I want to go. Like I don't want to be here. I want to go. I want to do this. I didn't have any money, so I might as well go with my dad. So, and just looking at like, you know, I look at a lot of these homes that are built because that's what my dad did for many times, concrete, putting floor, drywall, and things like that. You think about the type of work that folks like that are doing. It's kind of, to me, I think it's more, it's like an artisan type of work. We may not think it's like construction, but I mean, how many people listening, watching this could actually go and do that work? Probably not many. Cause like, I have no idea how to cut a piece of wood with a saw, like measuring, making sure it's going to fit, make it level. So I think I did a lot of that stuff. And I think for me, that was kind of like for me that how I kind of built my creative world, dipping into all these different things. But I think it was like an amalgam of all these things that got me to where I am at today. Like I took woodshop in high school. I took drafting. I didn't take photography or video. That's kind of the stuff I explored on my own as I got older. I did do graphic design in college, like community college. But again, all those different things that I just put into this bucket, like, I think about like, we kind of talked a little bit before, but like, think about my keynote. There's one point where I talk about like, it's just this bucket of sand that I pour and pour and pour in. I have no idea what I'm going to do with all that. But at some point, then I start like, okay, I'm going to take some of the sand and then I start building these sand castles with a little bit of sand. I'm like stealing a quote by, Jordan Peele. I think it's, there's a quote he has. I'm kind of like paraphrasing, but basically, yeah, having that bucket full of sand, you have no idea what you're going to do with it. He's in his reference. He's talking about writing. He just puts all this stuff, and eventually something's going to come out with it. So, yeah, that's kind of like how I approached as growing up. That the inspiration that I got to everything that I do is people are like, you know how to do that? Can't believe you play drum. And I was like, yeah, I play drums. you have a wood shop at home? He goes, yeah, I have a wood shop at home. Like, I had a camera. Which is great. It comes in handy when I have to fix a wall here at home, or had to like when I'm putting my desk and fixing my office, doing my walls. Like, oh, all that stuff helped. Now it's like, and so it's kind of it's funny. One guy called me, dude, you're like the Renaissance man. You're like the Renaissance. And so, but yeah, it's I love when I get the opportunity when someone asks me like I can keep going on and on.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say that's kind of like the growing up. That's basically all that stuff is putting in a bucket, and then like now I can dip into those different
Yeah.
things I've learned and pull who would have ever thought that taking woodshop would help me now and in a lot of the stuff I do. It's the critical thinking and things like that.
Yeah, no, and everything that you hit on, Claudio, is very important. And I can, even along with my story, also my parents being first generation, here, being first generation here, born here in the United States, and everything like that. It was we had to be very resourceful, and like you mentioned, many times it's like there wasn't any money for toys or things of that sort. So it's like, hey, here's a mop, and now all of a sudden I'm Donatello from the Ninja Turtles, playing outside. I'm Donatello, and then, find another pipeline around, or like now I'm Leonardo because now I've got, two swords, and, just using the imagination aspect of it, growing up, and especially growing up an only child, I definitely had to be very
Those
creative, you
imag
know,
imaginary friends, you know?
yeah, well, during the time, I didn't have imaginary friends. However, there weren't too many kids around my age, they were all way older and
Uh,
everything. So it was just there by myself. But, my dad worked in a citrus farm. And so then I learned how to drive a tractor at a very young age, and then learned how to drive on the back roads and things of that sort. And then so learning how to do those things and watching my dad, be in the shop and doing welding. So it was very interesting because everything was so hands-on. But going back to a little bit about what you said, I mean, is because we didn't have any of these, at the time, where number one, you can look and learn, but other times too, it could be very a time killer where you can be very active and be, doing a lot of things, learning and things of that sort. And very much like yourself, I consider myself like a multi-passionate creative, because there's a lot of things that I dip my fingers and toes in, and I just wanna go all in and learn that. So, I think that's something that's really helped out as well now doing the podcasting and really hearing people's stories and creating just I think, what was it? Like Joe this morning said it's like you're chronicling people's stories and amplifying stories, and it's all in a timeline from
yeah.
this time till now, and then they can look back and be like, "Oh, wow, like, that's what I was doing at that time." And I never thought about it that way, So, different ways of being creative, and I absolutely love it. So I wanted to talk to you now because obviously in this space, I know you do a lot of photography, obviously the work through Adobe and things of that sort. So what were some of the moments for yourself as far as being a creative that have been the most impactful for you, that maybe took you, like you said, I know, like in your keynote, you always mention risk and risk taking. So what were some of those risks that you were taking that helped you along the way in your professional career as an educator, and also now as an Adobe evangelist?
Yeah, I mean, when you started asking me the questions, like, "Whew, where's my," like my mind's trying to think of a response that I would say. I like that you pointed out like the risk aspect of it. I would say, um, like when I started, I like I've mentioned going back, he's taking using learning all the things and then putting in a bucket, and at some point I'm going to use it eventually. Um, I would say like when I started, venturing really also into some of the social media, like in the education world, like people were like, they were chat, what Twitter chat type things, and you kind of like feeding off of what other people are sharing. Um, and I think I was at a conference and I like posted this, a tweet. I don't even remember. It was maybe I started off like, I have no idea how this space worked, and I was like, well, I'm gonna use a picture and I'm gonna add like some text on it, like a little positive message. I honestly don't remember what it was. I could probably look through my files and find it somewhere, but I posted it and it was at TCA conference, um and it was like, then I posted it. I didn't think anything else after that. And Jamie Donnelly, a good friend, she was like, Claudia, did you see your tweet? I was like, no. It's like just kind of like a lot of it's got a lot of like, impressions and people are looking at it. It's like, that's amazing. Do you ever pay attention? I was like, no. And then that's when I started like, okay, well, let me look. And she goes, you should do more of that. You should share more of your work. And so, I was like, okay, I think maybe 2016, 2017. And, yeah, I'll go back. I know the year when basically when I said this, let's do it. I'm going to do it or not. And then I told myself, I wish I would have done it sooner, but all things work out, I believe, at a certain time and when they need to. And, I was at, South by Southwest, and that happens in the EDU conference in Austin. And I was the only one. I was like, I'm going to pay my own way. I'm going to go, took some time off of, work, or I don't remember how I worked it out. So can I go? But like, I pretty much like paid the hotel myself. I think I stayed in an Airbnb or like a Holiday Inn, like try to find the cheapest route. Anyways, so I was there by myself, but I did meet up with other folks. Um, and they had like this karaoke night, live karaoke night. And I was like, you know what? Not many people, nobody knows me here really. I'm gonna go try this thing. And because I've always seen people do karaoke. I'm like, yeah, that's like fun, but I don't know if um yeah, I'm a musician, I'm a drummer. I mean I can keep a tune. People I don't think I'm like a lead singer, but I can sing. And I don't know why I picked that song, but I did Hotel California, which has a long guitar solo at the very end, and I'm just standing up there when it's done. But it was fun, and I was like, "Oh my god, why didn't I do this before?" And at that moment, I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do everything that I was thinking of doing. I'm just gonna start doing to like YouTube channel. I started like doing that, and then there was a lot of other people, a lot of other photographers, video folks, and even people sharing like how to use certain tools. And I said, what am I gonna add to that? And it's like, you know what? Well, there's only one Claudio, there's only one me. So I'm just gonna add uh, you know, um, my noise to that sphere. And but I was like, man, if it helps somebody, great. If it doesn't, great. But at least I'm like having fun doing it. And I'll fast forward a couple that summer, ISTE was in San Antonio. So, um, also along with those risks, what I started doing before then is we're like, I'm going to present at these conferences. Like, and I did it, but I was like so nervous. Like my first TCA, my first not South by, ISTE. And it was like, I'm like, this is nerve wracking. I don't know if I can do this. And, but also I said, well, let me do this karaoke at ISTE. I was like, yeah, let's try it out. I signed up, and then I got on stage, and it was also live at the EdTech karaoke that they do, and it was like thousands of people in the field, like, oh my gosh. And I was like shocked that I got third place on that night, which was cool. But that's like all that summer, from February to that summer, it was like a huge moment of growth for me professionally, personally. And that's kind of like also where I'm at now at Adobe. I think that basically started like that door to, open where, I guess getting notice of the content that I create. And I just like started by scrap. I had a camera that wasn't high def it was 1080, but not like the cameras now which are, 4K, and lighting that I have now. I didn't all start there. It's like shop lights, which gave off heat, so when I'm doing the thing, it was like in between shots of like patting my face down because it was like, man, this thing is hot. Which the LEDs are so nice now because they don't give off the heat like fluorescence or even regular lights. But um, that I would say that risk paid off for me. It's like, and then proverbial, I wish I would have done it sooner, but I'm glad I did it when I did. But that right there was the kick, the impetus to, you know, where I am today. And like, I always share with folks because people reach out to me and I say like, um, they'd love to do like what I do. And it's like, do you have 5 hours to talk? But I don't have 5 hours to chat, but just like, I'm going to give you like the super cliff notes and just say like, this is what I did, but it may not my
Mhm.
journey is not gonna be the same as everyone else's journey. It's very different, and so I really try to share with others, because, everyone's journey is gonna be different, how they get to I love what I do. I'm fortunate. I feel super blessed to be able to do what I do, and, that I still get to do a lot of this other stuff that I get to, like music and video, and, it's giving me the opportunity to go places where I'm, never been before. We talked about as a kid, we were poor. We didn't, I grew up in San Diego, northern San Diego County, and like, we'd go to the beach, everyone maybe we went to Disneyland like once every like full moon or every, and it wasn't, we just didn't have the money. It's like, it was just, we'd go to the park, go to the beach. And so as I got older, it's like now where I'm at now, it's like I've been able to go to these places, and I mean, I don't take it for granted. I'm just like super, super like I just feel grateful and blessed that I am where I am.
I love it. And I love that story, Claudio, because it's just so relatable. I mean, and you're absolutely right. You hit on a couple things that where people may see somebody like you, or maybe somebody like looks at the podcast and is like, hey, man, like, how do I get started? How do I do that? And then you tell them, like, hey, it wasn't as easy as just like from day one. This doesn't happen. So I love that you are very open and transparent about your story and your journey, because I think oftentimes people think that what they see, they see on social media, they see the finished and polished product. But I know for your videos, it's not just one take videos that you're putting up on YouTube, and it's not just one take and that's it, you're done. I mean, that's hours of work, and then editing, and then uploading, and things of that sort. So for anybody that's watching, I mean, I know that many times that imposter syndrome hits, because it's
Yeah.
like, man, I wish I could do what they're doing, but they're pros. They do this. It's like, well, wait a minute. It's like you don't understand the work that goes into it, the learning, and then you're finally putting out that finished and polished product. So thank you so much for being very transparent and letting us know that
Yeah.
this was a journey. This was a journey of 1,000 miles, 1,000 risks,
Yeah.
but it all paid off in the end just by simply putting yourself out there and not being, I guess I would say, not letting that imposter syndrome get in the way, or that comparison of, comparing yourself. Like you mentioned, when you said there's other people that are putting out YouTube channels or have YouTube channels on something similar. But I love the way you stated, you said, hey, there's only one Claudio, and I'm going to go ahead and add my spin on it. And you've been very successful in that. You've had tremendous reach and tremendous milestones in
Yeah.
these years, and that's wonderful. And also big shout out to Jamie Donnelly, who also, the same way that she was with you, like, hey, you really
Yeah.
got to go do this. She's, one time we met at TCA, she's like, hey, Fonz, this is what you got to keep doing. And so big shout out to those people
Yeah.
like Jamie Donnelly that see something and just continue to encourage you to do those things and keep moving forward, because great things do happen.
Yeah, just start. It's one of those things. It's that imposter syndrome is so. Uh, I was like, that is so like. I'm trying to find the word. It could be debilitating, and it could easily discourage you. And you've got that little voice that's telling you, "Dad, what are you gonna do? Yeah, what do you have to offer?" And then, listen to the other voice and like, yeah, you have something to offer. And, um, and I would say it's like, you said it like this, the same thing with a different spin. And it's like, I was like, oh, I've not heard that way. I hear people share content, and I was like, oh, that's good. That's a great idea. And I tell them, I was like, I'm going to steal that idea, but I give you credit. I'm going to give you credit. I'm going to borrow that idea. But, um, yeah, I would just like, don't, that imposter syndrome can easily, terrify you. And, you'll get over that hump, and it's baby steps, go forward. And it's like you're gonna take those lumps when they come, those scars are gonna happen. And you know, I'm gonna tell you, like you mentioned YouTube, like there's a lot of negativity on social in general. There's a lot of positivity. And so it's like the comments that you know, I'm guilty of not like always like they come through like on my feed, like on my app, and I try to like respond to as many, but it's just like I don't have the money to hire someone to do it, but if I did, I would, but it's like not. I try to respond to as many, but every once in a while, like one creeps in. That's like when I first started, and I kind of went, what what do you? And I was like, wait a minute, this person that I don't even know. And I was like, and I'm getting all worked up out of someone who's like, and then I go look at their profile. I was like, they only have like one subscriber. Like, what, they, not to compare, but at the same time, I was like, this person is coming from a different point, and they don't even have the back, like the experience like I do to tell 'em, like, and so I just like, I just take it like, I'd read them, and sometimes I just give them a thumbs up, or like a happy face. Oh, yeah, that was funny. That was good. But at the same time, some of the comments that people have shared were constructive and like, um, I took it constructively. Like, for example, so like you, without using any like swear words, but like you take some bleep bleep to get to the point, like just get to the bleeping point. And I was like, first I was like, wow, somebody cussed me, in the comment. And then I was like, but then I was like, huh, but that's a good point. Maybe I need to get to the point faster. And could be I was looking at other YouTubers and looking at their format, and it's gonna like and figuring out how am I gonna do this? Like, and I like the way some people were kind of like they started off being like telling little stories, and but I guess people that were coming to my channel didn't want those little stories. They just wanted they don't want the appetizer. They just wanted to get to the steak. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go straight to the steak. Let's skip the appetizer. So, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's important. But as long as the steak is medium, right? But
Yes, but as soon as I said,
yeah, as soon as you said that, I just thought about the steak incident. It's like, oh, well, it's not medium. No,
quick,
well,
I think for context, quick story. We went somewhere. And I ordered a medium, and they came well done. They took it back. It came medium well. So if I said, let me eat it. So long story short.
yeah. Long story short, I think Claudio ate more potatoes than he did steak that day. Anyway, but hey, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that, Claudio. What now we're kind of shifting now a little bit more from that personal space now
Yeah, yeah.
into this professional space as an Adobe evangelist, and to be able to see the work that you've done, and blessed to be have the opportunity to be at some of these events at these ACE Institute. I want to just get your perspective on it, because I know that we chat and we talk, and normally we talk, hey, like this went well, this was, oh, these teachers did well. But in your perspective, being kind of that heart that you have of a teacher, very similar to the way that you do the things in YouTube to give people, just sharing your knowledge and your spin on things. Like when you do these institutes, like how do you feel like, when you see a room of excited educators that are ready to learn, and then as you go from room to room and you just kind of see those aha moments and things of that sort. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I've never asked that, but I figured, you
Uh,
know what, this is a great time to ask. What goes through your mind during those
Yeah.
events?
I know I love that because I don't always get to reflect on that. Maybe like just quickly thinking, but not totally reflect like I can right now. So for those listening and that figure little context, so our Adobe education team, so we I would say we offer these experiences. We don't call them PD, we call them like learning experiences, but we call them Adobe Creativity Institute. So where it's a full deep dive into creativity, the creative process, looking at iterative process of creating something, and the teachers go through that process that they in turn can then like do it with their students, and in all content, not just like your fine arts or your CTE course. Like people who usually use like Adobe tools, like so like how can the Spanish teachers like infuse the creative process in your classroom, and not necessarily you creating like project, but like even like in writing, like the creative process, like looking at, taking something and seeing the process grow. So we have these full day events, and the last one we had like almost 200 people attend, and you know, there we offer these at no cost to districts. And the last one, which was, within the last 2 weeks, was like I as going around, and I also love, like, you Fonz, are one of the presenters that I like try to get as much as I can to the when we have these institutes. And so when I go around and look at what people are creating, and for many of the teachers, because they have there's multiple skill levels that come to these institutes. Some people that are like, oh, I'm like, I took design in school, and I'm very familiar with Adobe, and some others like you know, what is, how do I log in, how do I log in, and how do I get this? But by the end of the day, everybody, we are tired. I always say we stretched our creative muscle by the end of the day. Right now, creative muscle gets tired, but the height, the excitement at the end. So as I go throughout, because I try to capture the moments that's happening, the learning that's going on, and that when people are having conversations. And I even asked, like, what do you think about what do you think about, this, what you're learning? And people share out, like, we give teachers opportunity to share. And, especially like when the whole day is done, and people come and they say, this has been a great learning experience. I'm super excited to take this back. And like, I'm already thinking how I can incorporate some of these ideas, this process into my class. And I was like, what do you teach? Well, I see it's like third grade. It's like, how this is a third grade teacher that's in June, already thinking about, how are they going to teach when school starts back up, and, after their break. And so, I love seeing the discussions that people have when they're sharing their projects, and like, you know, because like you get to, there's an opportunity, there's one session where people are like sharing their work, and it's the baby. And, people are like, think about your own baby. You're very protective of the baby. You're very careful, like, I'm going to hand this baby off to someone that I don't know, or I know a little bit, but, and it's like, here's what I'm making. It's like, very vulnerable. So the teachers make themselves very vulnerable, and it's very, to me, it's very, it makes you feel like, that like the humanity that's there of everybody, that, people let their wall down, and also like people make themselves vulnerable, and people accept the suggestions. I don't think of it as a criticism. I think like more like their suggestions, like, and it gets like, maybe that color doesn't, maybe use a different color, maybe try this other font, or maybe it would look good if you move this around. And so people have their different versions of a project that they're going through. And it's like seeing that happen, and see people going through that is exciting. Because then I think about, you know, the trickle down, because they're doing it, and they're like, how are they gonna, then this is eventually gonna head, students are eventually going to be doing this. And like I said, that the teacher that gave me that feedback, I'm already thinking how I'm gonna do it for my third graders. I'm excited. And, when's the next one? People. And so I love that about my job, that I get to see teachers get excited about learning. And like I mentioned at the start, like, you should always be, we're all learners. Like, we're adult learners, should never stop learning. And so I love, like, when people, they come on a day, when they're not working on their own, like, I want to come and learn. I'm excited about this. And, but don't get paid to go, and they're going to these. And it's like, because of, I think there's a thirst for people for this creativity. And I'm not saying just for Adobe, but I'm saying that there's a thirst for like, okay, we've been doing, like, it's like a record thing, we've been doing the same thing for so long. It's like, and what's that saying? Like, the I'm not saying it's insanity, but it could be, like, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, and I forget the
Expecting a different results.
result.
Yeah.
Well, see, it's like, this is like, wow, this is something different. It's refreshing, and people like leave. And so, for me, it's like, it boosts like my morale to see, like, this is, it's exciting. Physically, you're tired by the end of the day, exhausted, but the outcome is like, I think, wow, from, to me, when I see a room full of people like that are excited about the creative process, it's like, wow, it just speaks volumes, because eventually, like, the synergy, these teachers, and then one's going to affect another student, and eventually those students, it's going to grow. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks for asking that. Cause that's like, I've never actually, like, taken time to, like, reflect like that.
Yeah, and I always wonder, because I know, like you said, we come out of these events tired, and then But I mean, we have the stories too that we'll say, "Oh man, I was helping this teacher, and then she was just so excited." And a lot of people in our groups, they get so excited, and because, like you said, they're stretching that new muscle, then they're thinking about ways that they can implement this right away, and then they come up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, with this, with the anime to audio, like I can do this. I can do procedures for my kinder students, and I can play this for
Yeah.
them." And then the olders too. It's like, "Oh, this is a way that I can share this." Or the graphics or the book covers, and they just start getting so thrilled and so excited about it, and I think that's one of the things that I love too about it, and when I, get to lead these sessions, what I love to do is, like, I tell them that although this is, a tool that they'll be able to use, and I want them to think about how they can implement it in school, I say, "For this day, though, I want you to really just enjoy yourself and get in touch with your own creative, in you, because sometimes, like you mentioned, we do the things the same way over and over again, and I believe truly that, probably from like 3rd grade to 9th grade within our school system, we kind of lose a little bit of that creativity due to the state testing, and because everything's focused on that, and maybe teachers feel like, "Oh, I can't spend time on doing this different because it's going to take up some of my time." But when they go to these institutes and they see, like, "Oh, this is easy. Like, you mean I can use this for science? I can use this for social studies. I can use this one template, not only as an about me, but you can use it for a historical figure. You can use it for a science element. You can use it for this, and it's already there. I just need to tell them to remix it." Absolutely, and they absolutely love that they can go ahead and do that and challenge their students and still have a wonderful learning artifact from their students and giving them, like you mentioned, an enhanced learning experience.
Mhm.
And that's something that's huge and I absolutely love.
Yeah, it's fat. It's definitely like exciting when those happen.
Yeah, yeah, I know for sure. And so, well, thank you so much for sharing that because I know we hardly ever get to talk about that, but
Yeah.
thank you so much for reflecting on that because, man, I see the work that you put in and everything that you've got going on, and then to be able to capture those moments, but to also just reflect back on those things. And big shout out to the district. 2 weeks ago being
Yeah.
there, I think it was what 190 or 191
191.
that showed up out of
Yeah.
200 that registered. I was like, wow, that was
And
huge.
they had 100 on the wait list, which we weren't able to accommodate due to space. And so it's like just that like 300 people were excited about that. Come on. Yeah.
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 That is amazing. So you know that there's something going on, like you mentioned, that yearning for just creativity and just presenting something that they already do in a slightly different way. That's definitely going to engage their students and offer that learning experience as well. So that's amazing. So let's go ahead and just switch forward. We'll go a little bit forward in time because I know you've got a big week coming up next week.
Mhm.
So I know the show will be coming out probably like next week, also just in time for this
Cool.
wonderful event, which is ISTE. So tell me a little bit about what Claudio Zavala and the rest of the Adobe for Education team will be working on at ISTE.
Wow. So, yeah, so I guess like I'm still trying to get all my stuff, get all packed. So, but no, it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of work too. And then after ISTE, like Adobe, pretty well, not because of the ISTE, but Adobe shuts down like on 4th of July a week, so everybody's off. So it comes out at a perfect time, and it's like take the last couple days after ISTE to like basically like, hey, I'm gonna sign off for a little bit from work and just kind of like enjoy time with family. But so ISTE is, we're gonna have many sessions happening at our booth, 1600 if whenever this comes out. But I'm doing so we're all kind of taking our um like focusing on different pieces within Adobe Express. So like I'm going to be doing the animation and video piece at Adobe. So my sessions will just focus on those and which I like because last year we kind of did a mix of everything. And so some, like, well, Claudia, you're like the video guy, so let's have you do the video. I was like, cool, all that I'll do it. Yeah, I love video and animation. So we're gonna have like the drawing piece, like someone's gonna focus on drawing. Like I think like the 20 things you can do in Express, and so different sessions, but um and then I think we're gonna do some like remixing of a template, and I think they're printing them on bags. So it's kind of cool. It's gonna be exciting. I have limited quantities, just I don't know if I'll get a chance to make my own, but yeah, that we'll be doing that. I get in tomorrow, which is the day before, so get a little. I usually like doing that just to get, first of all, be able to make sure I get there because crazy weather can happen, and so, um, but we're also having we're hosting this kind of like a gathering on one of the events. Kind of my mind's going blank right now on it, but that's going to be exciting. We're a few folks coming into that, and then I'm so excited because we're also having a lot of districts from my area. So I support Central Region, which is Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, and Missouri. I think that's it. I don't think I missed any. So some people, folks that are coming from those areas, we're meeting with as many as we can. Maybe have some breakfast or coffee, and so excited to chat with them. Um, I know many districts in Texas, some of them are not going just because funds wise, and so, but yeah, and being able to see my colleagues, we don't always we get to see each other all the time, like through me, online, on team calls and, texting, but it's like we're not always all together at one place at one time. So it's like we're all excited to do that. We're like, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's capture, so we're gonna try to do some like videos of things that we can use eventually in the future. So it's like we're I would say any spare moment, we're just like we're gonna take advantage of try to get like some stuff that we can do that we can use eventually at down the road. So like for social and things like that. So the booth stuff's going to be fantastic. It's exciting. I've already seen the design. It's just like, ooh, that's very, with AI. I didn't mention that um earlier, but we'll have an AI session. That's the one that I was trying to remember. But like I believe like the artwork was generated. What's on that wall? Believe it was generated with AI, if I'm not mistaken. So it's be kind of cool. And so, and then you get to connect with so many people that we haven't seen in a long time, and people are like, it was funny because I posted because we're also having a not at ISTE. We're really like making sure that people that don't get to go will be able to experience like some of the content that we're doing. So we'll have some not at ISTE sessions going on as well. And I posted that and people are like, wait, you're not gonna be there. I was like, what? No, I am. I just posted that not an ISTE for so they're like, oh, okay. So but yeah, that's an exciting event and um there's some stuff that will be shared out that like I don't even know some like stuff is happening so fast. And so exciting news, stuff that I guess will be revealed then. Some stuff I can't share yet. So it's exciting stuff coming down the road. And then looking ahead, you know, next year it'll be in our backyard. It'll be
Yeah,
San Antonio. So that's going to be fun.
that is going to
Don't-
be fun. Well, that's exciting, Claudia. Thank you so much for that insight. And again, you heard it, booth 1600. Adobe is going to be there. Make sure you show up. You can print out a tote and, of course, limited quality quantities. So please make sure that you get there for those sessions. Check out Claude and the rest of the team because they are definitely great, phenomenal, and they can definitely show you what's new. And of course, don't miss out on any important announcements that'll be shared there and revealed. And please make sure you tweet them out because my hashtag this year is going to be not at ISTE. But that FOMO, that fear of missing out, is always there. But please make sure that y'all share out on Twitter and everything. Those of you that are attending. But Claudio, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today, sharing a little bit more of your backstory, your journey as far as a creative, a creator, and of course, your journey here as an Adobe for Education evangelist and the work that you're doing. And I appreciate the reflection on those institutes and how that makes you feel and the work that you're doing in making a huge impact in the education space through that. So thank you so much. And I also, before we close out, normally I like to close out with the three last questions, but like I did mention early at the very beginning, like 2016, 2017, when I first started getting a little bit more into the space, it was because and I know I've told you before, but I'm going to make you blush again. But you and Al Thomas were huge for me, following you all and the work that you're doing as far as creators, and not necessarily that you're creating for a specific company or anything, but just as a personal journey of your own and with photography and the things that you put out there, you both I want to say thank you because you guys were always very gracious and very, uh, just nice with your time and being able to answer back and just build that relationship. And so, for like I mentioned earlier, with all our listeners that are willing or wanting to know, or maybe just seeking some help, or it's okay to connect
Yeah.
with people like the Cal. I mean, we may not get to you right away, but we can definitely help you find answers. Or if not, we'll connect you with somebody who can, because the same way that Claudio and Al Thomas, big shout out to Al Thomas, did that for me. We definitely love to just pay it forward and do that for anybody that we can help. But again, I want to say thank you for being part of my journey, and everything. And then, now we've connected in real life, and it's been great. So I really appreciate the work that you're doing.
Oh,
So
thank
now let's go ahead and close this up. So we always end the show with these last three questions.
Okay.
So hopefully you got to see them on the calendar invite. If not,
I didn't. We.
no worries. We'll
All right.
just get them off the top of your head. Quick
I'll
fire.
see you next.
All right. So here we go. We know that every superhero has a weakness or a pain point. So I want to ask you, Claudio, as is like, for example, as a superhero persona in the current state of education, what you get to see from that overarching view, what would be one of your greatest pain points right now in education?
Ugh, wow. Like, not my, like, pain when I see the stuff happening in my pain point for it, or just like,
Yeah, like your pain, but like for example, if you see something that just causes you like, oh, they're still doing that, like it
uh,
weakens you, or it gives
wow,
you that. Yeah.
um, man, uh, I think, even when I was still, before joining Adobe, I think one of the pain points, because my wife isn't, she's an educator. I think one of the pain points is having PD for the sake of just having PD. Like, you know, we have to have PD. Well, what are we doing? Well, we're doing the same thing. So it's like, and for the most of the time, like ask my wife, what would you all do? We did the same thing. We would just, sometimes they have new adoptions and it's different, but for the most part, like there's PD, added to calendar, but it's like, sometimes it's like, we're going to have PD, for the sake of thing. And I guess maybe to add to that, it's like, having meetings, and specifically talking when I was in education, having meetings for the sake of having a meeting, where it's like, this could have been an email. So, so I guess that, doing something just to say that you did it, just
Excellent.
it's done. This is like, come on.
Yeah, it's almost like just checking off the box, right, for compliance. There you go. All right, excellent, good answer. All right, question number 2. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Oh man. Okay. I think, if I like, I'm truly like, my mind just going, like, I think it would be kind of, I would do something funny, but also like, like the old, I think Uncle Sam, like, I want you. And I years ago, I did like a revised version. Like I did like a take on that, like my own little, um, and it was, I think I said, I want you to create. So I would maybe do something where it would be like me pointing, like, you know, have you created today? Or I want you, like, I want you to create, or something like that. Just to encourage people to create. So just like some kind of goofy and funny like that, pointing like, have you created today? So,
There you go. Hey, I
yeah.
like that. That'd be pretty good. We can put it next to the Bucky sign. Be like, "Hey, have you created today?" That'd be
Stop at
great.
stop at exit 25. No.
There you go. All right, Claudia. And the last question, but I don't know if there's anything else, because I mean, I know that you have multiple hobbies and multiple passions that you have, but I'll still ask it anyway. So let's say, for example, like let's pretend that this Adobe evangelist position, like you're not in it right now because so here's the question though: is there a hobby or a profession that you wish that you can turn into a full-time career?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, I love what I do. I think, um, I love playing drums. I don't know if I'd want to be doing that because, they're out, like they're gone a lot. I mean, I'm gone too in ways, but that lot that, like, I don't know, maybe like, um, in that aspect, maybe, online YouTuber that drums or something like that, that would be kind of cool. I'm gonna give you several here. So that would be one. But I think I'd also would like to I think in everything, I would always have some aspect of sharing it, like being a content creator. I'd always have that. So, um, the other would be like doing some woodwork stuff, and I like showing people how I'm doing it. That would be kind of cool. But then there's something else that I would actually love. Like I actually was talking about it today. It looks very it looks very like romanticized when I see people do it. But I've heard, it is a hard life. But I would like to um like travel and travel and show people how to do things and like in it like a van or something like because then it would be like I'd still do my photography, I still do biking, I still do music, but like not a van life, but it may be a van life, but like a creative life where you're like traveling around and like seeing different places and like capturing uh I guess that would be more like maybe retirement in some point, but I don't think I'll ever retire just because I love doing what I do. But I guess that's kind of like the you know, what I would like to do. Like if I wasn't doing this, that would be like kind of something like that.
Yeah. Well, those are some great ideas though that you threw out, like, enjoying that van life, that traveling. So I can see you either like pulling in and just putting up like something on socials like, hey, anybody want to learn Adobe Express? And you just pull up in your van. And then after you're done, like you go do your photography, do some, sightseeing and everything, and then go to the next one. It's like, hey, anybody want to know like how to like cut a door or sand a door or
Yeah.
something. So now you're just incorporating everything that you
Yeah.
love in a travel van, so that'd
Mhm.
be great. Well, you could just put the van and put, like, El Creativo on the
Yeah.
side and just drive around the
Yeah.
US just creating.
Be cool. That'd be cool.
That'd be awesome. Well, Claudia, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, man.
Thank you for just sharing again your passion for creativity, just your story. And for all our audience members, I know that they'll definitely take a lot from it and learn and sprinkle some of those knowledge nuggets that you shared to what they're already doing great. So I really appreciate you. And for all our audience members, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Thank you so much for all of your support. Please make sure that you follow us on all socials at My Edtech Life. And again, please jump over to your YouTube channel, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Remember, our goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers. And don't forget to visit our website at myedtech.life, where you can check out this amazing episode and the other 283 episodes that we have with amazing creators, educators, professionals, founders. We've got a little bit of everything just for you. So you can take some of that knowledge and implement it or put it into your teacher tool belt and make sure that you have it available whenever it is that you need it. So thank you as always for all of your support. And my friends, until next time, don't forget, stay techie.